A lovely evening and thank you for joining us. This is Times News with me, Edita Soko. First, the headlines. MCTU plans demonstrations to force President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the Labour Relations Act. Government considers purchasing another brand of vaccine amid a shortage of the AstraZeneca. And in our special report, Matthews Kasanda brings to light continued power connection challenges in some parts of the country. We have these and other stories. Do stay with us. Our first news item tonight. The Malawi Congress of Trade Unions, MCTU, has announced plans to hold demonstrations in major cities across the country in a bid to force President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the Labour Relations Act, which Parliament passed last week. MCTU Secretary General Madalitso Njolomole confirmed that demonstrations will take place in Mzuzu, Lilongwe, Blantyre and Zomba this Thursday. And in a separate interview, however, Presidential Press Secretary Brian Banda said that as a listening president, Chakwera will make an appropriate decision once the bill arrives on his desk.
The labor law that or act that you are referring to, it was tabled in Parliament. Members of Parliament who represent all Malawians debated on this bill and passed it. If MCTU had a problem with this bill, the first thing that they would have done was to lobby members of Parliament to reject it. But we Malawians have trusted members of Parliament to do business on our behalf in Parliament. And if members of Parliament have agreed in the National Assembly, they represent our views. So in essence, Malawians said yes to this bill. But President Chakwera is a listening president. When the bill comes to his desk for him to assent it, he'll make that decision at that appropriate time.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Progressive Party DPP wing of the University of Malawi has also spoken against what it calls the MCP administration's retrogressive move of making democratically alien laws. This follows a move by Parliament in passing the amended Labour Relations Act and the Employment Act. Weze Gausi reports.
In a press statement signed by the President, Kobina Sungani, the amendments to the said acts take away the employees' constitutionally recognized and protected right to fair labor practices. Sungani says it is a guarantee of the Constitution for employees to withdraw labor where their right to fair labor practices is threatened.
Yeah, so we are therefore condemning the MCP administration for its regressive move of making democratically alien laws.
Government spokesperson Gospel Kazako says the bill under discussions are a recommendation from Malawi Law Commission. He says they have been ready as early as 2017 and some 2007. Recently, Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation, CHRR, wrote President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the newly amended Labour Relations in the Employment Act as it was contradicting the Constitution of Malawi.
The Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, CCJP, has raised the need to train the citizenry in tracking public projects in a bid to end corruption in councils, which is endemic in the country. Most of the resources abused are from the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, District Development Fund, DDF, and Local Development Fund, LDF. Feston Malekezo reports.
Mzuzu Diocese CCJP coordinator Felix Manda says sanity can only prevail if the common man is allowed to follow proceedings in councils.
We talk of the council. It's strictly the council secretariat, councillors, members of parliament, chiefs, and some key stakeholders. But you want to find a common citizen having space in the council. In that way, councillors, members of parliament and council secretariat feel like they are the owners of development.
In her reaction, Mariana Banda, Deputy Director of Planning and Development at Mzuzu City Council, says citizens are allowed to patronize full council meetings, but was quick to point out that the council has limited space to accommodate a lot of people.
Challenges due to the current restrictions of COVID, they are not allowed because our premise is very small. But we look forward to the new civic office which is going to be built, that we have so many rooms, bigger rooms, whereby they'll be invited and we'll have more space for everybody to attend this meeting.
Apparently, CCJP is running a 2-year project, Voices and Actions for Accountability in Malawi, in 7 districts of the country for effective budget tracking and scrutiny of public procurement and expenditure, among others. In the northern region, the 20.7 million kwacha project is being implemented in Mzimba and Mzuzu. Isaac Soko from Chingautua West Ward says the trainings by CCJP will increase dialogue and exchange of information on public expenditure between local government authorities and citizens. The European Union-supported project is, among others, targeting district council committees, area development committees, ministry departments and agencies, and citizenry.
Now, a short supply of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has pressed the government to start considering purchasing another brand of vaccine to meet the growing demand. Figures indicate that only 0.23% of the targeted 60% of the population have been fully vaccinated, getting both doses. This means 43,135 people out of 11 million people have received the vaccine. Feston Malekezo has a report.
The country is expecting 192,000 doses of Oxford's AstraZeneca on July 15, 2021, which is not even enough for the targeted population. In an interview, Minister of Health spokesperson Edwin Jukumbe said discussions are underway with health experts to see the feasibility of the option.
Considering the situation we are in, which was not expected earlier, our experts are looking at other options. If you can switch to another brand of the vaccine, because this one was largely being produced in India, where they also had their own issues. They had to satisfy their own population first before they could supply to other countries. So we are also looking at options to, if you can shift to another brand, because we know it could be manufactured in a different country and maybe supplies wouldn't be a difficult thing to do.
Chairperson of National Immunization Advisory Committee, Professor Macpherson Malewa from College of Medicine, confirmed that the Ministry of Health engaged them to provide recommendations on whether bringing in new brand of COVID-19 vaccine would be ideal. Since the emergence of the novel coronavirus in December 2019, more than a dozen vaccines have been rolled out. Some of the COVID-19 vaccines include Moderna, Pfizer, Sinovac and Johnson.
Now, for years, some residents in Lilongwe have been left in the dark, literally and figuratively, after having their power disconnected by the Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM. In our special report, Matthews Kasanda brings the spotlight on some of these residents who seem uncertain about the actual grounds of their electricity disconnection.
A few kilometers from Kamuzu Palace in Lilongwe, some families in 11 villages are living in the dark despite that they have power lines connected to their houses. Others have been waiting for as long as 7 years to have power connected to their homes. Nevertheless, some residents used electricity supplied by Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM, for 3 years before being disconnected, explaining that ESCOM told them that the connection was by mistake. Christopher Zaulombo, a resident of Chuzla village, says they were told that their houses were out of ESCOM's range and cannot be connected to ESCOM grid.
I was surprised one day when ESCOM officers came and disconnected the power, indicating that the connection was illegal. But by then I had used the electricity for 3 years.
Zaulombo has a refrigerator, a television set, and other electric appliances that are lying idle in his house. The residents say some poles which were already erected in various spots have been uprooted and that they were told that in the first, it was by mistake that the poles were brought in the area. There is also an ESCOM sub-power station in the area that has power lines stretching above and nearby houses.
Once they
give us a reference number, they don't come again. When we ask them, they tell us that the transformer is overloaded. But to our surprise, others get connected to the same transformer.
The residents further told Times that during arranged meetings before the power station was planted in the area, locals were promised that they would benefit from the project, but the opposite happened.
Some of them, one of them is like we are away from the main transformer, the same transformer at Churchuzela stage. Another one is like the main transformer is already overloaded, but to our surprise, the same main transformers has been overloaded. As we are talking now, 2 new maize mills has been connected to the same overloaded transformer.
Women cover several kilometers to their nearest maize mill because they do not have any in their area due to power challenges.
We walk long distance to the men's mill. Sometimes we hug up as our leaders, but we still have some challenges because we find long queues at the men's mill and we spend the whole day.
That is the voice of Fanny Kumwenda, who has an electric cooker, a refrigerator, and other equipment which she no longer uses because of lack of electricity in her home. Apparently, she has been given 4 different connection reference numbers by ESCOM, but getting connected has proven impossible.
Women cook using charcoal, but as you know, the government is against that. As for men, they spend most of their time at Chuzira Trading Center, where they watch football before coming home at night.
When asked why ESCOM disconnected power to the said villages, the corporation's public relations manager, Innocent Shitosi, said the affected line was constructed illegally. He says the power supplier disconnected the whole line to investigate the circumstances surrounding its construction. He says customers who occasioned the illegal connections will have to pay their penalties before being considered. Chitosi added that ESCOM workers who were involved in this crime are facing disciplinary action. But those innocently affected by the said crime remain angry that they are being punished for issues that they know nothing about.
That's Matthews Kasanda with that special report. We'll be back with more news shortly.
Sompenya amalawi watukula malawi 2063 akale wozimira pale ufika 2063 akale wokomera aliyense achinyamata tigwira ne manja tukula malawi achinyamata tikale patsogolo tukula malawi 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 wozimira pale malawi wokomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusintha dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
Great! The chips is ready. It's so fast, unlike using charcoal or electricity. Charcoal takes long to light and cook. It is unhygienic and it leaves you dirty. And using charcoal also destroys the environment. And while I was using electricity, it would go off while still cooking. And besides, the cooker was taking too long to heat up, resulting to more time cooking and high bills. All in all, gas is convenient. It's safe and reliable. It can be used anytime, anywhere. It is affordable and environmentally friendly.
Be smart. Use gas today. Gas is safe, convenient, reliable. Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority MERA, regulating energy for sustainable development.
Welcome back, and still in the news, the Central Region Water Board, CRWB, has announced plans to expand its water supply to Dzaleka refugee camp and replace its old pipes. The board's public relations manager, Zefelino Mitumba, announced the plans in Doha, where he also assured the water users that the board would be alert to minimize emergencies that affect the water supply. Matthias Kasanda has the details.
On Wednesday last week, some residents in Doha district were supplied by muddy water which comes from the Central Region Water Board. The situation angered the residents, but the board was quick to respond by rectifying the problem. The board spokesperson Zefelino Mitumba says one of the water distribution pipes had burst, causing the soil to get into the water supply system.
We understand the anger because no one expects to get tapped water from Central Region Water Board. But what happened after that, the whole system was closed, and in some cases, valves were opened to flush the lines, and the pipe that burst was replaced.
Mitumba has added that the Central Region Water Board will be expanding its water supply to other areas, including Dzaleka refugee camp.
The plans are that we will rehabilitate and expand the supply here, and when that project is completed, it will even supply to Dzaleka refugee camp.
One of the Doha residents, Modesta Masamba, says they were worried to see muddy water coming from the taps. Masamba, however, has commended the Central Region Water Board for the quick response. The Central Region Water Board uses two sources of water in Doha district, one being Lingadzi River and boreholes.
Salima Sugar Company is expecting an increase in sugar production this year as compared to last year. According to the company's director, Bruhatbet Giri, the company produced about 15,000 metric tons in 2020. This year, a projected 20,000 metric tons is expected. Wezi Gausi reports.
Despite being hit by COVID-19 pandemic, but the company is still managing to buy sugarcane from local farmers to beef up on what the company grows. Betty Giri says as it stands this year they are buying 50,000 metric tons of sugarcane from local farmers, and about 170 metric tons of sugarcane are coming from their own farm. He added that they are happy that the Ministry of Health finally opened their company, having reported no more cases of COVID-19.
Progressing well. We have started the harvesting. We are engaging the local labor force and the technicians.
Ministry of Health spokesperson Adrian Chukumbe says they opened the company in May when all positive cases later tested negative with no new cases in sight. He says the Director of Health and Social Services and his team were tasked to sustain surveillance on the company campus and surrounding villages. Salima Sugar Company owns about 4,000 hectares of land, and currently only 1,000 hectares of land is under cultivation. 60% of the shares are held by the promoters and 40% of its shares are held by the government of Malawi.
Now, 146 Christians from 2 churches under the Blantyre Synod of the Church of Central Africa Presbyterian, CCAP, have graduated from Veritas studies. The study, which seeks to equip Christians with knowledge about the Bible, has seen 99 Bible scholars from Mount Olive CCAP and 47 from Michiru CCAP Church graduate from different modules after completing the biblical course through Veritas College. Gary Samati has the details.
The 99 Christians from Mount Olive CCAP have completed the first 2 of 6 modules in the Veritas studies. The group graduated on Sunday afternoon. Speaking after the graduation ceremony, Reverend Hudson Kaseko, Director of Missions, Evangelism and Training at Blantyre Synod, said the studies are essential for Christians in Malawi.
This is no mean achievement, especially that there are both modules, Module 1 and Module 2. So we know that there is going to be growth and our members are benefiting a lot from this training.
And one of the 47 graduates from Michiru CCAP, Lelu Longwe, expressed his gratitude on receiving the certificate of achievement after finishing the Bible course.
We study the Word of God. We have to understand what the Bible says at that time and how we can apply it and even communicate to others so that they understand what the Bible says. My plans, I think, as Veritas ages us, after we have understood the word, we have applied it, we need to go out and communicate. That's what I intend to do, to communicate to others about the word of God.
Veritas College's mandate in Malawi is to make Bible and leadership training accessible to both church leaders and members.
A grouping of women from various religions in Lilongwe called Choonadi mwa Yesu Kristu Fellowship has donated assorted items to patients admitted at Ntengwa Mission Hospital in Dowa District. Matthews Kasanda has this report.
Speaking when they made the donation on Saturday, one of the fellowship seniors, Elizabeth Chirombo, said the group hoped to encourage the patients physically and spiritually.
So we thought that we should also visit our friends who are in hospital, who are sick. Yes, despite encouraging them spiritually, we thought that we can also encourage them physically. That's why we thought we should visit our friends who are sick in hospital here at Ntengwa.
The hospital's nurse, midwife technician Vincent Kadzilimbile said the donation will go a long way in assisting some of the patients who have been at the facility for a long time. He says most of the patients come to the hospital unprepared.
Village is a very big challenge for the patients whom we are taking care of, because they come without fully prepared. So we are very happy as a hospital that our women have now been assisted with.
One of the guardians at the hospital, Felicite Moyo, asked for more support from well-wishers. Some of the items that were donated are sugar, salt and soya pieces. The fellowship started in 2016.
And that's the news for now, but before we go, here are the headlines once more. NCTU plans demonstrations to force President Lazarus Chakwera not to assent to the Labour Relations Act. Government considers purchasing another brand of vaccine amid a shortage of the AstraZeneca. And in our special report, Matthews Kasanda brings to light continued power connection challenges in some parts of the country. Remember, you can get more on these and other stories by visiting our website www.times.mw, liking our Facebook page Times360 Malawi, and following us on Twitter at Times360 Malawi. Now remember to wash your hands regularly, observe social and physical distance, and mask up. Stay safe. You've been with me, Elita Soko.
The irresistible taste of the extra smooth classic peanut butter also contains natural